Thank you, and a very good morning to all you ladies and gentlemen. I know we have a slow start in the morning because we are awaiting more people to join during the course of the day. And this is typically how it happens in Kerala. I belong to Kerala, though I don't live here any longer. But when I do come for marriages, and I come from a place called Tiruvalla, which is down south, and one of the things I've noticed is that the marriage is always held at about 11 to 11:30 in the morning. And then it gets over by about 12:30, 1 o'clock, Syrian Christian community. And then after that, everybody rushes for lunch. And then before you turn around, they've had lunch and they've all left. So I've seen in the morning that people are willing to come distances, attend a function, and then go. So always things tend to start a little later in Kerala, is my understanding. The other unique thing about Kerala, and I'm not confining this only to marriages, is that we don't call Kerala a urban or a rural state. Because what we call it is more like an urban sprawl. And when I say urban sprawl, what I mean is that you don't just have towns, but adjoining towns, you have what you might technically call a village, because the population is not large enough to be called a town. And traditionally, in most states in India, when you look at the income typically is much higher in the town and lower in the village. Here, on the other hand, when you look at the way the income is distributed, you will discover that the income is relatively similar. In fact, in some parts of Kerala, the income is higher in the villages and lower in the towns. So when you look at even consumption in Kerala is a lot more uniformly spread out than in most other states. Because in other states, you tend to focus only on the large cities. So if I go to, say, a state like UP, what you will discover is that in UP, people will focus on, say, Prayagraj, as it's called now, Varanasi, Gorakhpur, Lucknow, Kanpur. Then if you go to West UP, Meerut, Aligarh, and then Agra. So, you kind of look at the top 10 to 12 cities. But if you go to Kerala, you have to actually, if you're looking at a retail network, it's not about actually putting it up only in Trivandrum, Cochin, Calicut, maybe Kottayam, maybe Trichur, maybe Palghat, maybe Cannanore. It's about actually going deep down, because in every population strata, there is consumption which is available. On a per capita income basis, Kerala is relatively similar to most of the other southern states, which is Tamil Nadu or Telangana or Karnataka. Roughly about 280,000 per annum is the per capita of Kerala. But what is also important is that approximately about 80,000 rupees per annum is added by NRI inflows. And that is something which is not captured in the per capita income, but actually comes back as income to people who are resident in Kerala in the form of NRI inflows. And that translates into several forms of consumption. Early days, the consumption used to be in the form of ostentatious spending. So fancy houses, large plots of land. Then slowly it translated into moving into actual consumption, which is you buy more jewelry, you buy more durables, those kind of items. And then, of course, you get occasions for consumption, which is weddings, where there is a lot of money which is also spent during the time of weddings. The other source of income that Kerala normally gets is the inflow from tourists. And that is also not part of the state GDP, but it is consumption that happens in Kerala because tourists are coming into Kerala and they are spending money, whether it's on accommodation, food, transportation, local products that they tend to buy. A lot of that is also additional income which comes into the state. So Kerala has always been at the forefront of retail. So I still remember that one of the earliest retail chains which used to be there, leave aside other categories, if I were to look at food and grocery, was Varkis in Kerala, who started a chain. And Varkis in Kerala started at about the same time that Food World started in Chennai. And Food World is considered to be the first organized chain for food and grocery. On the other hand, if you were to look at sari retailing, at about the same time Nalli started. Little after that is when brands like Seamarty and others started here in Kerala. If you look at jewelry, you will find, from people who've been more traditional and remained single, like, say, for example, a Krishnan Nair, to people who are like Kalyans and the Joy and the Joss Alukas and all of those other chains, which have also started out in Kerala and then have grown outside and become much, much larger. So when you look at electronics, you will see people like Quailon Radio Service who were there at one point of time and still continue to be there. But there are many more newer people like Bismi and others and Pittapallil agencies and others who've all come into electronics retail and created. So what is unique about this place is the fact that it is the crucible for homegrown retail. On the other hand, if you were to think of national retailers, say a Reliance Retail, and I was there at that time, and them coming into this state and making a big impact, what you do realize is that the local people are very discriminating. Just because you're Reliance doesn't mean that you'll be successful. They're very careful. They'll say, okay, fine, we have a local retailer, we have a national retailer, and we are not enamored by a Reliance name. We still prefer to buy from whoever gives us the best deal and gives us the best service. So a lot of Kerala retailers are very, very competitive, are capable of being able to withstand a lot in terms of competition. So that's the pride that each one of us should have in the fact that we have been part of a retail story in Kerala, something which is unique, which has been created, and something that has stood the test of competition, and certainly when you look at the amount of time that it has been around, stood the test of time. The second large point that I wanted to make is that we're currently in a transformation phase. So if I look at retail in India, retail across the world, there are lots of things that are happening which are changing the way people are buying. First of all, in India, with the median age of 28, what we are discovering is that a large part of the consumption today is dominated by the younger generation. And when I talk about younger, I'm saying that even if you're below 45, you can be considered as younger generation, because to a large extent, the way you behave, the way you buy, your lifestyle, your shopping habits, etc., are all very similar to the youngsters. There is one generation which is what we call Gen Alpha, which actually lives only on a screen. Many of us actually have gone beyond screens. We also look at maybe a notebook, maybe a storybook or a fiction book or something like that. But many just live on screens. They don't look at anything beyond a screen. But that is a generation which is actually very happy swiping. So you swipe on Tinder to find a match. You swipe on Amazon to see what exactly would you like to buy. You swipe for single-click payments. So they are very, very comfortable actually dealing with screens and buying online. So that's another generation, another form of buying. Not very different from what we are used to. The only difference is we are used to having stores and we are used to having people come in, look at products, inquire about the price, make up their mind, buy and go. On the other hand, today, you have people who don't want to come into stores. They want to sit at home. They want to look at a screen, select the products, shop across different sites to see which is giving the best price, then choose where to buy, and somebody comes and delivers it to them in their home. So they have bought without actually stepping out of their home. So we have to understand that there is this behavior and there is also that behavior. And how do we make sure that we are able to participate in both of those? Now, in more recent times, we also have the phenomenon of quick commerce. And quick commerce today is able to actually combine the two. So if earlier everything used to happen, out of sight, today what happens is that you do something which is actually buy online, but it comes from a physical warehouse and it comes to your home. So you're able to create this hybrid movement, but the speed is of essence. So what you can see is what people are buying might not be very different over the years. How they are buying it, whether it's in a store, online, or through quick commerce, is something that is changing quite rapidly as we go along. So I think we're in for very, very exciting times in the world of retail. There'll be lots of changes that we are going to see. When people buy online, people buy on a screen, then even the way you have to communicate with them is also very different. If they're looking at a screen all the time, then you have to communicate with them on a screen. If you have to communicate with them on a screen, will you be able to get them to watch a television ad? Will you be able to get them to actually read a newspaper and see a paper ad? Or would you have to do digital advertising to ensure that you capture their attention? That's another point that we have to think of. If they're always looking at a screen, how do we ensure that we keep engaging them? Because one of the biggest challenges that we all have with retail and retail customers is that we see them when they come in to buy, either online or offline, but after they've finished the purchase, then we don't know what happens to them until they come back again. Occasionally, we'll send them some messages, WhatsApp, SMS, etc., saying Onam is there, Christmas is there, schemes are there, please come back, etc., or there is some benefit. But then, until they come and buy back again, we have no control. So another important thing which has come up is how do you actually continue to engage the customer, even if they are not in your store? And today, digital medium and new engagement tools have become extremely important to be able to help engage them. So these are newer areas which are coming into retail, which makes all our lives very interesting. I know we have a long day ahead of us, and we'll be hearing several people across several panel discussions and keynote speeches. So let me take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming in. Thank you, Deepak, for helping us to organize this in Kochi. We've done this for the second time. Last year we did this in Calicut along with the Malabar Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Kamath was there to help us in all of that, and this time we are doing it in Kochi. We hope to make this a larger event as we go along. Now we do events in places like Bangalore and Chennai. Chennai normally has about 700 people who come. Bangalore has about between 400 to 500 people who come. We have a national summit which is coming up in Bombay in February next year, where we expect at least more than 2,000 people to attend. So what we need to do is to be able to make sure that retail as a part of the Indian industry continues to grow stronger and stronger, and that is bound to happen when you think about how when people get richer, they stop buying food to the large extent and they start buying non-food items, and we are all part of that larger non-food consumption story. So wish you all the best and take care and look forward to a very, very enriching day. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.